Good morning. Welcome to this week's Torah portion. It's titled Lecha, meaning go forth yourself. Spiritual or internal journey to discover one's true self and or purpose. We'll be reading through Genesis 17:7 through 27, Isaiah 40:27 through 41:16, Romans 4:1 through 12. Also, an alternate gospel reading of John 8:51 through 58. I'll be reading as well. Genesis 17:7 we're starting with. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you. This is Yahweh speaking. And I shall establish my covenant between me and you, and your seed after you in their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be Elohim to you and your seed after you. And I shall give you, he's speaking to Abraham. Well, at this point he's Abram. He's not Abraham yet. And I shall give to you and your seed, and after you the land of your sojournings, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I shall be their Elohim. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for you, guard my covenant, you and your seed after you throughout their generations. This is my covenant which you guard between me and you, and your seed after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised, and you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. And a son of 8 days is circumcised by you, every male in your generation. He who was born in your house or bought with silver from any foreigner who is not of your seed. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your silver has to be circumcised. So shall my covenant be in your flesh, an everlasting covenant. And an uncircumcised male who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, his life shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. And Elohim said to Abraham, as for Sarah, your wife, do not call her Sarai. As for Sarai, your wife, do not call her name Sarai, for Sarah is her name. So Yahweh is big on renaming people. And I shall bless her, and also give you a son by her. And I shall bless her, and she shall become nations. Sovereigns of people are to be from her. That's important here. And Abraham fell on his face and laughed, and said in his heart, is a child born to man who is 100 years old? Or is Sarah who is 90 years old to bear a child? And Abraham said to Elohim, let Ishmael live before you. And Elohim said, no, Sarah your wife is truly bearing a son to you, and you shall call his name Isaac. Isaac also means laughter. And I shall establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. See, I shall bless him, and shall make him fruitful, and greatly increase him. He is to bring forth 12 princes, and I shall make him a great nation. But my covenant I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah is to bear to you at this appointed time next year. And when he had ended speaking with him, Elohim went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael his son, and all those born in his house, and those that bought with his silver, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that same day as Elohim told him. And Abraham was 99 years old when he circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskins. Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised the same day, and all the men of his house, born in the house or bought with silver from a foreigner, were circumcised with him. 18. And Yahweh appeared to him by the terebinth tree of Merim, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw 3 men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, Yahweh, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread, and refresh your hearts, and then go on. For this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran to the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk, and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. And they said to him, where is Sarah, your wife? And he said, she is in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah, your wife, is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being too old? And Yahweh said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? And Yahweh said, and since I am old, in many ways too hard. Is any matter too hard for Yahweh? At the appointed time, I'm going to return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them, and they went away. And Yahweh said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him, for I have known him. So what he commands his children and his household after him, to guard the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahweh brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. And Yahweh said, because the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is heavy, I'm going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I know. So, most people know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, but what a lot of people don't realize or don't know is that all the towns around Sodom and Gomorrah were doing very similar things as Sodom and Gomorrah. The only difference is that Sodom and Gomorrah were doing it way more. And we'll find out going through like how bad these people are. And so it's not like, you got all these peaceful towns around Sodom and Gomorrah and are like, oh, no, they're just as bad. They're not, on a scale of 1 to 10, Sodom and Gomorrah is 10. They're like a 7 and an 8, right? But all those towns are pleading to do something about them because, like, they're really bad. So that's what he's getting ready to do now. So, 22, picking up from 1822. So the men turned away from there and went towards Sodom. But Yahweh still stood before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there were 50 righteous within the city. Would you destroy the place and not spare for the 50 righteous that were in it? Lot is there. Abraham's nephew. Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does the judge of all the earth not do right? So Abraham's pleading to Yahweh. And Yahweh said, if you find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I am but dust and ashes. I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all this city for the lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 45, I do not destroy it. So now Abraham's pleading down the number. Suppose there are 5, and he spoke to him yet again, and suppose there were 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there are found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I find 30 there. He's pleading down. And he said, look, please, I have taken upon myself to speak to Yahweh. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, let not Yahweh be displeased, and let me speak only this time. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10. Then Yahweh went away as soon as he had ended speaking to Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. And the two messengers came to Sodom, angels, in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when Lot saw them, he rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, and said, Look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night, wash your feet, and rise early and go your way. And they said, No, but let us spend the night in the open square. But he urged them strongly, and they turned into him and came into his house. And he came and he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Before they lay down, the men of the city the men of Sodom, both old and young, all the people from every part surrounded the house. And they called to Lot and said to him, Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us and let us know them. So Lot went out to them through the doorway and shut the door behind and said, Please, my brothers, do not do evil. Look, please, I have 2 daughters who have not known a man. Please let me bring them out to you and do to them as you wish. Now he's selling up his own daughters to protect these 2 messengers, angels. Because in Sodom, the way you became a man was in your teenage years, you and a mentor were to go into the wilderness for a period of time, and I don't recall, and you came back if you got a good report, you were then a man. So yeah, some really bad stuff. But this was normal for them. This is prior to us looking through it through a Christian, faith-based morality. So, but they said, Stand back. And they said, This one came in to sojourn, and should he always judge? Now we are going to treat you worse than them. So they pressed hard against the man Lot, and came near to break down the door. But the men reached out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness. This is the messengers, the angels. Both small and great, and they worried themselves to find the door. And the men said to Lot, Have you anyone else here, a son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whoever you have in the city? Bring them out to this place. For we are going to destroy this place, because the cry against them has grown great before the face of Yahweh, and Yahweh has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws, who had married his daughters, and said, Get up, get out of this place, for Yahweh is going to destroy this city. But to his sons-in-law he seemed to be as one joking. And when morning dawned, the messengers urged Lot to hurry, saying, Get up, take your wife, your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be consumed in the punishment of the city. And while he loitered, the men took hold of his hand and his wife's hand, and the hands of his two daughters, Yahweh having compassion on him, and they brought him out and set him outside the city. And it came to be when they had brought them outside, that he said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you, nor stay anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, lest you be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, Yahweh, look, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have increased your loving commitment, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I am unable to escape to the mountains, lest calamity overtake me and I die." Like, he's taking you out of a place where you're definitely going to die, and he's telling you go to. I think he's got your back. Okay, but anyway, look, please, this city is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there, for it is no small matter, and let my life be saved. And he said to them, "Look, I have favored you concerning this matter also, without overthrowing this city for which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I am unable to do any deed until you arrive there." So the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun had risen upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. And Yahweh rained sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahweh out of the heavens. So he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities that grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a post of salt. And Abraham rose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before Yahweh. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain. And he looked and saw the smoke of the land, which went up like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came to be, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the plain, that Elohim remembered Abraham and sent Lot out in the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his two daughters were with him, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters dwelt in a cave. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old. There is no man on the earth to come in to us, as in the way of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and lie with him, so we preserve the seed of our father." The daughters spent years in Sodom and Gomorrah, so they picked up some of their habits. So they made their father drink wine that night, and their firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she arose. And it came to be on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, I lay with my father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight as well, and you go and lie with him, so that we keep the seed of our father. So they made their father drink wine that night as well, and the younger rose and lay with him. And he was not aware of it when she lay down and when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. And their firstborn bore a son and called him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. And the younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the children of the Ammonite to this day. And Abraham sent out from there to the land of the south, and sojourned between Kadesh and Shohar, and stayed in Gehar. And Abraham said concerning Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Amalek, sovereign of Ger, sent and took Sarah. Now, Abraham used this back in Mizraim, Egypt. This, he was worried about his life, so he said that pretend you're my sister, not my wife. At least they kill me. So he's doing the same trick again. But Elohim came to Amalek in a dream by night and said to him, see, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Amalek had not come near her, and said, Yahweh would kill you. What, Yahweh, would you kill a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And she even said, even she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and in the innocence of my hands, I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. So I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason, I did not let you touch her. And now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you certainly shall die, and you and all that are yours. So Amalek rose early in the morning and called all his servants and spoke to these words in their hearing. And the men were greatly frightened. And Amalek called Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? In what have I sinned against you, that you have brought on me and on my reign a great sin, and have done matters to me that should not be done? And Amalek said to Abraham, what did you have in view that you have done this matter? And Abraham said, only because I said to myself, the fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they shall kill me for the sake of my wife. And yet she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to be, when Elohim cursed me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, this is your loving commitment that you should do for me in every place. Wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother. Then Amalek took sheep and cattle, and male and female servants, and gave them to Abraham. And he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. And Amalek said, see, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it is good in your eyes. And to Sarah he said, see, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. See, it is to you a covering of eyes before all who are with you, and before all others. You are clear before everyone. And Abraham prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Amalek and his wife and his female servants, so they bore children. So back in 6, he goes, he kept him from sinning. That's what he did. He stopped them. He had a little dysfunction. For Yahweh had closed up all the wombs of the house of Amalek because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. 21. And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son, who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac, or Yishak. And Abraham circumcised his son, Isaac, when he was 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me laugh, and everyone hears of it laughs with me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I had borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Mistrite, whom she had borne to Abraham, mocking. So she said to Abraham, drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of the female servant shall not inherit with my son Isaac. And the matter was very evil in the eyes of Abraham because of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy, and because of your female servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Isaac your seed is called. And of the son of the female servant I also make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, which he gave to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, also the boy, and sent her away. And she left and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water skin was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down about a bow shot away, for she said, let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat opposite him, and lifted up her voice and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the boy, and the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the heavens, and said to her, what is the matter with you, Hagar? Do not fear, for Elohim has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Arise, lift up the boy, and hold him with your hand, for I make a great nation of him. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water, and gave the boy a drink. For Elohim was with the boy, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took a wife for him from the land of Misraim, Egypt. And it came to be at that time that Amalek and Piccolo, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now swear to me by Elohim not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the loving commitment that I have done to you, and to the land in which you have sojourned, traveled. And Abraham said, I swear. And Abraham reproved Amalek because of the well of water which Amalek's servant had seized. And Amalek said, I do not know who has done this deed. Neither did you inform me, nor did I hear until this day. So Abraham took sheep and cattle, and gave them to Amalek, and the two of them made a covenant. And Abraham sent 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Amalek asked him, "What are the 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves?" And he said, "Take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, to be my witness that I have dug this well." So he's purchasing the well. So he called the place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. And Amalek rose with Piccolo, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And he planted a terebinth tree in Beersheba, and he called on the name of Yahweh and the everlasting El. And Abraham sojourned in the land of Philistines many days. And it came to be after these events that Elohim tried Abraham and said to him, "Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Take your son now, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as an ascending offering on one of the mountains which I command you." And Abraham rose early in the morning, and saddled his donkeys, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. And he split the wood for the ascending offering, and rose and went to the place which Elohim had commanded him. And on the 3rd day Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place from a distance. So Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey while the boy and I go there and worship, and come back to you." And Abraham took the wood of the ascending offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the two of them went together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, "Father." And he said, "Here I am, my son." And he said, See the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the ascending offering?" And Abraham said, "My son, Elohim does provide for himself the lamb for an ascending offering." And the two of them went together. And they came to a place which Elohim had commanded him, and Abraham built a slaughter place there, and placed the wood in order, and he bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the slaughter place upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. But the messenger, some think this messenger is Messiah. But the messenger of Yahweh called to him from the heavens and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, the messenger, "Do not lay your hand on the boy, nor touch him. For now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Referenced in John 3:16. And Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and saw behind him a ram caught in a bush by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for an ascending offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Yahweh Yireh, as in is said to this day, "On the mountain Yahweh provides." And the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham a second time from the heavens, and said, "By myself I have sworn, declares Yahweh, because you have done this, and have not withheld your son, your only son." That's kind of messed up, because like Ishmael is his son too, but they keep referring to Isaac as his only son. Ishmael is the son of the flesh, Isaac's the son of the spirit. I guess that's what they're meaning. that I shall certainly bless you, and I shall certainly increase your seed as the stars of the heavens and the sand which is on the seashore. And let your seed possess the gate of the enemies. And in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. That Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt in Beersheba. And it came to be after these events that it was reported to Abraham, saying, See, Lecha too has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uzzah his firstborn, and Buzah his brother, and Chulek the father of Aram, and Kesel, and Hazel, and Pildash, and Yephlat, and Bethuel. And Bethuel brought on Ribikon. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Rewah, also bore Tabah, and Gaham, and Tanash, and Menach. 23. And Sarah lived 120 years. The years of the life of Sarah. Sarah has now passed. And Sarah died in Kedar Arba, that is her in Hebron, the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. Then Abraham rose up from beside his dead, and spoke to the sons of Heth, saying, I am a sojourner, and I am a settler among you. Give me property for a burial site among you, so that I may bury my dead from my presence. And the sons of Heth answered Abraham, saying, Hear us, my master. You are a prince of Elohim among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our burial sites. None of us withhold from you his burial site from burying your dead. So Abraham rose and bowed himself to the people of the land and the sons of Heth. And he spoke to them, saying, If it is your desire that I bury my dead from your presence, hear me and approach Ephron, son of Sophar, for me. And let me have a cave in Lecha, which is at the end of his field. Let him give it to me for the complete amount of silver as property for a burial site among you. And Ephron dwelt among the sons of Heth, and Hebron and the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the sons of Heth, who also entered the gate of the city, saying, No, my master, listen to me. I shall give you the field, and the cave that is in it. I shall give it to you in the presence of the sons of my people. I shall give it to you, bury your dead. And Abraham bowed himself down before the people of the land, and he spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, If only you would hear me, I shall give the amount of silver for the field. Take it from me. Let me bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying to him, My master, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? So bury your dead. And Abraham listened to Ephron. And Abraham weighed out the silver for Ephron, which he had named in the hearing, and the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, currency of the merchants. Thus the field of Ephron, which was in Meleketh, which was in Madrim, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, which were within the surrounding borders, were deeded to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the sons of Heth, before all who went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Lecha before Marim, that is in Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus the field and the cave that is in it were deeded to Abraham by the sons of Heth as property for a burial site. 24. And Abraham was old, advanced in years, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all he had, please put your hand under my thigh, so that I make you swear by Yahweh, the Elohim of the heavens and the Elohim of the earth, that you do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwelt, but go to my land and to my relatives, and take a wife for my son Isaac. And the servant said to him, what if the woman refuses to follow me to this land? Do I take your son back to the land from which you came? And Abraham said to him, beware lest you take my son back there. Saying, no, don't take him there. Yahweh's Elohim of the heavens, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my relatives, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, to your seed I give this land, he sends his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman refuses to follow you, then you shall be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there. Then the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left, for all his master's good gifts were in his hand. And he arose and went to Aram Nahar, the city of Nahor. And he came, and he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a fountain of water, at evening time, the time the women go out to draw water. Then the servant said, Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, please cause her to meet before me this day, and showing loving commitment to my master Abraham. See, I'm standing here by the fountain of water, and the daughters of men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now let it be that the young woman to whom I say, please let down your jar to let me drink, and she says, drink, let me water your camels too. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac, and let me know by this that you have shown loving commitment to my master. And it came to be, before he had ended speaking, see, that Rebekah, who was born of Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with a jar on her shoulder. And the young woman was very good looking, a maiden, no man having known her. And she went down to the fountain, filled her jar, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your jar. And she said, drink, my master. And she hurried and let her jar down to her hand and gave him a drink. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, let me draw water for your camels too, until they have finished drinking. Rebekah. And she hurried and emptied her jar into the trough, and ran back to the fountain to draw water and draw it for his camels. And watching her, the man remained silent, in order to know whether Yahweh had prospered his way or not. And it came to be, when the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel, and 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels of gold, and said, whose daughter are you? Please inform me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, Lecha's son, who was born, and she was born of Nahor. And she said to him, we have both straw and fodder enough and room to spend the night. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahweh. And he said, Blessed be Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, who he has not forsaken his loving commitment and his truth toward my master. As for me being on the way, Yahweh, lead me to the house of my master's brother. Then the young woman ran and informed those of her mother's house these matters. And Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban came out to the man, to the fountain. And it came to be when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah saying, Thus the man spoke to me, that he went to the man and saw him standing by the camels at the fountain. And he said, Come in, O blessed, O Yahweh. Why do you stand outside? I myself have prepared the house and a place for the camels. So the man came into the house while he unloaded the camels and provided straw and fodder for the camels and water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him, and set food before him to eat. But he said, Let me not eat until I have spoken my word. And he said, Speak on. He said, I am Abraham's servant, and Yahweh has blessed my master exceedingly, and he has become great. And he has given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore him a son to my master when she was old, and he has given to him all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, Do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whom land I dwelt. But go to my father's house, and go to my relatives, and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, What if the woman does not follow me? But he said, Yahweh, before whom I walk, sends his messenger with you, and shall prosper your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my father's house. Then when you go to my relatives, you are to be released from this oath. And if they do not give her to you, then you are released from my oath. And this day I came to the fountain, and said, Yahweh, Elohim of my master, Abraham, please, if you are prospering the way in which I am going, see, I am standing by the fountain of the water. And when the young woman comes out to draw the water, and I say to her, Please, give me a little drink from your jar to drink. And she says to me, Drink, and let me draw for your camels too. Let her be the woman whom Yahweh has appointed for my master's son. I had not yet ended speaking in my heart. Then see, Rebekah was coming out with her jar on her shoulder. And she went down the fountain and drew water. And I said to her, Please, let me drink. And she hurried and let her jar down from her shoulder and said, Drink, and let me water your camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels too. And I asked her, and she said, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Lecha bore to him. Then I put the nose ring on her nose, and the bracelet on her wrist. And I bowed my head and worshipped Yahweh, and blessed Yahweh, Elohim of my master Abraham, whom had led me in the true way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And now, if you are going to show loving commitment and truth to my master, let me know. If not, let me know so that I turn to the right or to the left. And Laban answered, Bethuel too? And said, The matter comes from Yahweh. We are not able to speak to you either evil or good. See, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go. Let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahweh has spoken. And it came to be when Abraham's servant heard those words that he bowed himself towards the earth before Yahweh. The servant brought out ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold and garments and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. And he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night. When they arose in the morning, he said, "Let me go to my master." But her brother said, and her mother said, "Let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10, then you go." And he said to them, "Do not delay me. Since Yahweh has prospered my way, let me go so that I may go to my master." And they said, "Let us call the young woman and ask her." So they called Rebekah and said to her, "Are you going with this man?" And she said, "I shall go." So they let go Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "Let our sister become the mother of thousands, or of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them." And Rebekah and her young women arose, and they rode on the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. And Isaac came from the way of Berer, Lehi, for he dwelt in the south. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening. And he lifted his eyes and looked and saw camels coming. And Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel. And she had said to the servant, "Who is this man walking in the field to meet us?" And the servant said, "It is my master." And she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the matters he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. 25. And Abraham took another wife, whose name was Shinar, and she bore him Zimran, and Johan, and Minan, and Madine, and Yishkak, and Shuaha. And Johan brought forth Sheba and Dinah, and the sons of Dinah were Ashim, and Leshum, and Lamiel. And the sons of Midian were Ephah, and Ephor, and Hanak, and Abade, and Eladah. All these were the children of Kedar. Now Abraham gave all he had to Isaac, but the sons of the concubines whom Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the land of the east. And these are all the years of Abraham's life. He lived 175 years. And Abraham breathed his last, and died in a good old age, aged and satisfied, and was gathered to his people. And his son Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Lecha, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Sodar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. And it came to be after the death of Abraham that Elohim blessed his son Isaac. And Isaac dwelt in Beersheba. And this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Mizrahite female servant bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar, and then Adel, and then Meshib, and Meshib, and Duman, and Masan, and Hadar, and Tamah, and Yethur, and Naphish, and Edemiah. And these are the sons of Ishmael. And these were their names, by their towns and their settlements, 12 chiefs according to their tribes. And these were the years of the life of Ishmael, 175 years, and he breathed his last and died, and he gathered to his people. And they dwelt in Halaweh, as far as Shur, which is a mountain of Mistrim, as you go, which is east of Mistrim, as you go toward Ashur. He settled before all his brothers. And this is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Isaac. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Amorite, Paddan Aram, and sister of Laban the Amorite. And Isaac prayed to Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. Sarah was barren too. Trend. And Yahweh answered his prayer, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And within her the children struggled together. And she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahweh. And Yahweh said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people shall be separated from your body. And one shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. And when the days were filled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out, red all over like a hairy garment. So they called his name Esau. And afterward his brother came out with his hand holding on to Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man dwelling in the tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob cooked stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. This is why his name is called Edom. But Jacob said, sell me your birthright today. And Esau said, look, I am going to die, so why should I have a birthright? And Jacob said, swear to me today. And he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. Jacob then gave Esau bread and a stew of lentils, and he ate and drank, and rose up and left. Then Esau despised his birthright. Thus Esau despised his birthright. 26. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food which was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Amalek, sovereign of the Philistines, in Ger. And Yahweh appeared to him and said, do not go down to Mizraim. Live in the land which I commanded you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you, for I give all these lands to you and your seed. And I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heaven. And I shall give all these lands of your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commands, my laws, and my Torah, and Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And when the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, she is my sister. A theme. Son like father, right? For he was afraid to say, she is my wife, thinking, lest these men of the place should kill me for Rebekah because she is good looking. And it came to be, when he had been there a long time, that Amalek, sovereign of the Philistines, looked through a window, and he saw Isaac playing with Rebekah his wife. So Amalek saw Isaac and said, "See, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister?" And Isaac said to him, "Because I said, lest I die on account of her." And Amalek said, "What is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost laid with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us." And Amalek commanded all his people, saying, "He who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death." And Isaac sowed in the land, and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahweh blessed him. And the man grew great, and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and a great body of servants, and the Philistines envied him. And the Philistines had stopped all their wells, which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and filled them with dirt. And Amalek said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So Isaac went from there, and pitched his tent and the Wadi Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac dug again the wells of the water, which they had dug in the day of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the wadi, and found a well running water there, the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Isaac's herdmen, saying, "The water is ours." And he called the name of the well Lecha, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove over to that one too, and he called it Shinash. And he moved from there, and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called it Rehoboth. And he said, "From now Yahweh has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." And from there he went up to Beersheba. And Yahweh appeared to him the same night, and said, "I am your Elohim of your father Abraham. Do not fear, for I am with you. And I shall bless you and increase your seed, and my servant for my servant Abraham's sake." And he built a slaughter place there, and he called it the name of Yahweh, and he pitched his tent there. And the servants of Isaac dug a well there. And Amalek came to him from Gerar with Azareth, one of his friends, and Pichlo, the commander of his army. And Isaac said to him, "Why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me and sent me away from you?" But they said, "We have clearly seen that Yahweh is with you." And we said, "Please, let there be an oath between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good toward you, and sent you away in peace. You are now blessed by Yahweh." And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. Then they rose early in the morning, and swore an oath with one another, and Isaac let them go, and they departed from him in peace. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Isaac came and informed them about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We have found water." And he called it Shebath. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took wives Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were a bitterness of spirit to Isaac and Rebekah. 27. And it came to be when Isaac was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau his elder son, and said to him, My son. And he answered him, Here I am. And he said, See, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. And then, please, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go to the field and hunt wild game for me. And make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went out to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. And Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, See, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, Bring me wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of Yahweh before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice according to that I command you. Please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, See, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to him, Let your curse be on me, my son, and only obey my voice, and go get them. And he went and fetched them and brought them to his mother. And his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And he said, Put the skins of the young goats, and she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. Then she gave the tasty dish and bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. And he went to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you said to me. Please rise and sit and eat of my wild game, so that you might bless me. But Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh, your Elohim, brought it to me. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come near, so that I might feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son of Esau or not. And Jacob went near to Isaac, his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy, like his brother Esau's hands, and he blessed him. And he said, You are truly my son Esau. And he said, I am. Are you truly my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you. So he brought it near to him, and he ate. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said to him, Please come near and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled of his garments and blessed them and said, See, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which Yahweh has blessed. And Elohim give you of the dew of the heavens, of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brother, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed are those blessing you. And it came to be, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly felt the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that you might bless me. And his father Isaac said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your firstborn Esau. Then Isaac, trembling exceedingly, said, Who is it then that hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. He is blessed. When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me too, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing. And Esau said, What was his name then called Jacob? For he had caught me by the heel 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I have given to him as servants, and I shall sustain him with grain and wine, so that then shall I do to you, my son. And Esau said to his father, Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac, his father, answered and said to him, See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heavens from above. And by the sword you are to live, and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning of my father draw near, then I am going to kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her oldest son, had reported to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, See, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. I mean, what we done, Mom? Anyway. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me? Now, that completed the Genesis part. Isaiah 40:27 to 41:16. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hidden from Yahweh, and my rights are overlooked by my Elohim. Did you not know, have you not heard, the everlasting Elohim Yahweh, the creator of the ends of the earth, which faints nor is weary? He is understanding unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to those who do might he increases strength. Even youth shall faint and be weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who wait on Yahweh renew their strength. They raise up the wings like eagles. They run and are not weary. They walk and they do not faint. 41. Be silent before me, you coastlands, and let people renew their power. Let them come near, then let them speak. Let us come together for right ruling, who raised up righteousness from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made sovereigns submit to him. He gave them as dust to his sword, as driven stubble to his bow. He pursued them, passed over in safety by a path that he had not gone with his feet, who had performed it and done it, calling the generations from the beginning. I, Yahweh, am the first, and I am the last. I am He. Coastlands see it and fear it. The ends of the earth are afraid. They draw near and come. Everyone helps his neighbor and says to his brother, be strong. And the craftsman strengthens the goldsmith, who smooths with the hammer, inspires him who strikes the anvil, saying of the joining, it is good, and he strengthens it with nails, so that it does not totter. But you, Israel, are my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the descendant of Abraham, who loved me, whom I have strengthened from the ends of the earth, and called from it farthest parts, and said to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you, and I have not rejected you. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. See, all those who raged against you are ashamed and blushed. They are as non-existent, and the men who strive with you perish. You seek them, but do not find them. Those who struggle with you, those who fight you, are non-existent as not. For I, Yahweh, your Elohim, am strengthening your right hand and saying to you, do not fear, I shall help you. Do not fear, you worm Jacob, you men of Israel, I shall help you, declares Yahweh, and your Redeemer, the set-apart one of Israel. See, I shall make you into a new threshing sledge, and with sharp teeth let you thresh mountains and beat them small, and make hills like shaft. You widow them, and the wind lifts them up, and the whirlwind scatters them. But you rejoice in Yahweh and boast in the set-apart one of Israel. Now, it'll be in Romans 4, 1 through 12. What then shall we say, Abraham our father, to have found according to the flesh? For if Abraham has declared right by works, he has ground for boasting, but not before Elohim. And what does Scripture say? Abraham believed Elohim, and it was reckoned to him for righteousness. And to him who is working, the reward is not reckoned as favor, but as a debt. And to him who is not working, but believes on him who is declaring right the wicked, his belief is reckoned for righteousness. Even as David also says of the blessed man, of the man whom Elohim reckons righteousness without works. Righteousness without works. Blessed are those whose lawlessness are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom Yahweh shall by no means reckon sin. Is this the blessing then upon the circumcised only, or upon the uncircumcised? For we affirm belief was reckoned unto Abraham for righteousness. Now then, was it reckoned, being in the circumcision or uncircumcision, not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision? And he received the sign of circumcision as a seal of righteousness of the belief, while in uncircumcision, for him to be a father to those believing through circumcision, for righteousness to be reckoned to him also, reckoned to them also, and the father of circumcision to those who not only are of the circumcision, but also walked in the steps of the belief which our father Abraham had in circumcision. And we can go to John 8, 51 through 8. Almost done. John 8, 51. John 51. John 8, 51. And I do not seek my own esteem. There is one who is seeking and is judging. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone guards my word, he shall never see death at all. The Judeans said to him, now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died and the prophets, and you say, if anyone guards my word, he shall never taste death at all? Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died, and the prophets died? Whom do you make yourself? Yeshua answered, if I esteem myself, my esteem is none at all. It is my Father who esteems me, of whom you say that he is your Elohim. And you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be like you, a liar. But I do know him, and I guard his word. Your father Abraham was glad that he should see my day, and I saw it and did rejoice. The Judeans therefore said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and have seen Abraham? Yeshua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham came to be, I am. Shalom. Make it a great day. Read your Bible. You read it. Don't farm it out. And most importantly, talk to the Father daily, all the time. This was much longer than I thought it was going to be. And I am truly grateful to those who listened. I'm just putting this out there to get Yah's message out. That's all I'm doing. So make sure you have a blessed day. Shabbat. Good Shabbat. Thank you for listening.